Welcome back to the Madden 07 Albuquerque Vipers franchise. Today we've got the 2018 offseason as the Albuquerque Vipers are now looking to three-peat as Super Bowl champions as they now have back-to-back Lombardi trophies. And going into season 13 now, things are going to be looking a little bit different, at least for one of their alternate jerseys. That's right, we're starting the offseason with a uniform change. Going from the ugly green alternate uniforms that we wore about once a season to these nice all-black jerseys with an all-black helmet. I really like this look, so expect the Vipers to be rocking it several times in the upcoming seasons. I do want to thank Bibes down in the comment section for recommending a jersey change, so you can thank him for that. And right before we jump into the offseason, looking at the Pro Bowl, it was a high-scoring affair. 57-36, the NFC takes it. Of course, as back-to-back Super Bowl champions, we were just raking in that cash. And we've also got some retirements to go through. Paul Hackett of the Eagles retiring. He's getting a little bit up there in age. Marshall, same for him with the Buccaneers. You got Cunningham retiring just from the NFL in general. He wasn't on a team. The Bucs losing another coach to retirement. Jim Mora Jr. Playoffs. Who even said anything about playoffs? Retiring from the Cardinals head coaching job. You got the Jaguars coach retiring. That was a lot right there. Our offensive coordinator for the last several years has been Kurt Warner, but he's been offered a head coaching job by the Falcons, so we're going to let him go off and do that. We're going to bring in Andy Reid to replace him, who's been out of the NFL for a little while, but I think he needs to restart his career, and what better place than Albuquerque. We're also going to be re-signing Gary Zahner as our special teams coordinator. And as I was just scrolling through the available coaches right now, Pete Hunter, our former cornerback, is looking like he's going to get a defensive coordinator job with the New York Jets. You just love to see all these former players becoming coaches. Looking at retiring players, the 2004 quarterback class, Eli Manning, Big Ben, and Phillip Rivers are all going to be calling it a career. And then you also have Dwayne Kent, part of that 2007 draft class with Orlando Cross. He bounced around the league a little bit after being a first-round pick by the Eagles, and he was a bust for the 21st overall pick there out of Florida State. 8 touchdowns to 11 interceptions throughout his entire career. A player that we are very familiar with, Phil Van Dyke, is going to be calling it a career. Of course, drafted by the Patriots in the first round, but not signed to a contract. He came to Albuquerque, won a Super Bowl in 2010 with us, spent one more year with us after that before going to Cleveland for 3 years. Then he went to Baltimore, where he had the best season of his career in 2015, and then he finished it out with the Jags. J.J. Omens is going to retire as a Bronco, Isaiah Simpson as a Charger. You got Grimm here with the Patriots, and Sears with the Vikings. Chris Cooley, one of the last real fullbacks in the game, is going to be calling it a career as a Houston Texan. Braylon Edwards, the former Cleveland Brown, is going to retire as a Denver Bronco. Matt Jones retiring as a Tennessee Titan. Mike Knight's calling it a career. Matt Clay and Santonio Holmes. Jason Witten's going to retire as a 49er. Heath Miller as a Detroit Lion. Kellen Winslow as a Cowboy. Ben Trope as a Seahawk there. Mercedes Lewis calling it a career with the Chiefs. You got Leonard Pope there with the Eagles. Ron Elliott with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former Atlanta Falcon himself right there. Jordan Gross, our former tackle, unfortunately suffered a career-ending injury with the Colts. It was probably going to be his last season anyway. Maurice Williams, our tackle, is going to be retiring. The Redskins are going to be losing a tackle. You got McKinney there. The Patriots going to be losing one. Mike Person's going to retire with the Buffalo Bills. Lloyd Womwack, still one of the best guards in the league, is going to be calling it a career. Same with Matt Lear, former Albuquerque Viper guard. As we just scroll down this list here, as we are going to be losing a lot of our last real players this season. Jeff Fain is going to be the only center retiring. And now to the defensive side of the ball, you got Charles Grant with the Broncos, as well as Richard Seymour. You got the former Packer there, Aaron Campman. I'm probably butchering his name like I always do. 2 guys on the Chargers. One of them, unfortunately, a career-ending injury for the former Seahawk and now Charger, Blake Peter. Kevin Williams in the middle of the defensive line. Tim Anderson. You got Jenkins, Albert Hainsworth. DJ Williams going to retire as a Buffalo Bill there as we move to the linebacking core. Nick Barnett's going to retire as a Lion. Odell Thurman with the Ravens. Darrent Williams is calling it a career with the Indianapolis Colts. You got Jackson here, Dominique Foxworth, so a couple of former Broncos cornerbacks. And then you got Hobbs, who is a Broncos quarterback, now retiring. Nick Collins is retiring with the Giants. Sean Taylor with the Green Bay Packers. You got Michael Huff, Roman Harper, a couple of guys there in Tampa. Josh Bullock's with the 49ers. You got Carpenter with the Panthers. Neil Rackers retires as a Cowboy. Lindell is also going to be calling it a career. And finally, with the punters, you got Shane Leckler and Brian Mormon getting a ring before he rides off into the sunset. Looking at our restricted free agents, we're not going to be bringing anyone back. That includes Cedric Dorsey, Reggie Smith, Robert Martin, Wolford, or TJ Johnson. Our first order of business here in the re-sign stage is Orlando Cross. We're going to be giving him a 5-year, $87 million contract to the 5-time MVP. Joseph Santiago has been a fantastic guard for us for the last few seasons, so he's going to get the money that he deserves. Darren Gordon has been our top cornerback for the last several years now, and he's going to be getting a new deal as well. We're also going to be re-signing fan favorite wide receiver Charles Phillips to a 3-year extension. Brian Franks was only on a 1-year deal last year, so we're going to be giving him this 2-year extension. We're also going to be shoring up our secondary, giving Maurice Sanders a 4-year deal. We are going to be releasing backup quarterback Sean Chandler. He never really did anything for us, and we don't really need that many quarterbacks on the team. We're also not going to be renewing the contracts of Tom Lang, Anquan Anthony, Javon Anthony, our linebacker, Jamarcus Ward, the speedy wide receiver, currently not bringing back Quamey Holt, but we might during free agency, Clyde Cornell, and Dejon Beasley, our backup quarterback who wants to test the market and try to get himself a starting job somewhere. We're also going to be releasing wide receiver Fernando Davis. He only has 1 catch in his 2 seasons here, and he's really struggled to hold on to the football. Rob Matthews is also going to be hitting the open market. He averaged under 2 yards a carry for us this season. We weren't super active in free agency, just bringing in a punter in Todd Washington and bringing back linebacker Javon Anthony. Aaron Rodgers hit the open market, but he just returns to Indianapolis. Parrish Walker leaves the Browns and goes to the Eagles. Matt Leinart returns to the Seahawks, and Curtis Williams returns to the Saints. We'll have to see what happens in Seattle there with Vince Young. I might have to mess around with that a little bit. John Owens returns to Chicago. Something else that I might change considering they do now have a franchise quarterback. Nate Thomas goes from the Eagles to the Browns. Tavares Sparks is now Green Bay's projected starting quarterback. Dejon Beasley, our former backup, now slated to be the starter for the Dallas Cowboys, and Kyle Cates signs with the Jags. Henry Martin leaves the Raiders and signs with the Giants because they lose a D. Stevens to free agency, who signs with the rival Cowboys. Joe Turlin signs with the Packers. You got Bruce Mills going to the Raiders. You have some fullbacks getting signed, including our former fullback Walt Morrison, who signs with the Kansas City Chiefs. Scott Young stays in the AFC South, going from Jacksonville to Indianapolis. You have John Wade signing with the Oakland Raiders, and then the Texans continue to look scary, bringing in Jason Ford and Glenn Hughes. Alex Malone is going to have plenty of weapons at his disposal this season. Jamarcus Ward also finds a new home with the Washington Redskins. Moving over to the tight ends, Vernon Davis signs with the Eagles. You got JT Littman with the Kansas City Chiefs. Alfred Bailey signs with the Dolphins. Ed Klein with the New Orleans Saints. You got Campbell there with the Cowboys. Only one left tackle was signed. That was Willie Campbell to the Dallas Cowboys as well. You got Mankins, a left guard, going to Buffalo, who doubles down at that position. The Giants get Eugene Parker. The Bears get a left guard. They actually get 2 of them there, as we see, and the Chiefs also get one. The Giants also sign a center in Joyner there. You got Seymour going to the other team there in New York. You got the Steelers. You got the Falcons shoring up their O-line. The Cowboys get George Jones at right guard. You also have the Saints and Falcons getting some. And the Giants are just really shoring up their offensive line, taking 3 of the best available in free agency. Onto the defense, Antrell Wilson used to be a pass rusher for the Vipers. Then he went to the Jags and the Bears, and now he's a Dallas Cowboy. Michael Watkins has been one of the great pass rushers the last few years, especially his first 4 years in New York, and now he's going to be wreaking havoc in Chicago. The Eagles have another good signing there in Joseph Ford, so they could be dangerous this season. The Saints get the best defensive tackle available on the market, 99 overall, Watkins right there. You got Greer going to the Colts, Fields to the Buccaneers, and Boston to the Redskins. The Bills bring in longtime Steelers linebacker Shyrone Wiggins. The Jets get an outside linebacker as well, as do the Dolphins. Derek Robinson was the best middle linebacker available. He goes to Kansas City. Jonathan Vilma, surprisingly still in the league and now a member of the New Orleans Saints. Quamey Holt, we didn't end up bringing him back. He signs with Carolina, and Matt Harris goes to the Giants. Mo Frazier signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got Roger Carson going to the New York Jets, Smith to the Panthers, and of course we brought back Javon Anthony. Into the secondary docket, the top corner goes to the Raiders. You have Atkins going to the Chargers. Randall Slater, after 3 3 years in Arizona, and of course 3 years before that with the Vipers. He signs with Miami. Jason Cannon going to the Bengals. Campbell to the Giants, who also get Chris Brown in free agency there. New York also making a lot of key signings. Another former Viper available, Wade Schmidt. He goes from the Falcons to the Redskins. Holiday from the Redskins to the Bills now. Gray signs with the Bucks, and Emmanuel with New York. And finally on defense, safety Al Lucas signs with the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Jason Van Dyke there with the Giants. Rick Claiborne leaving Houston, going up north to Cleveland. You got Sexton leaving Tennessee and going up to Buffalo, and you got Pete Diggs signing with the Patriots. Here's a look at my board. Going into the 2018 NFL Draft, we got a tackle right on top there. Then we got a bunch of linebackers. This actually looks like a very good linebacker class, so there's a good chance that we're going to take at least one, if not multiple. And there's also this safety here in the 5th round that I think has a lot of potential. Remember, we have 2 first-round picks because of the Darren Gordon trade at mid-season, sent him to Denver in exchange for the 16th overall pick here. The tackle Mays on my draft board was just taken by the Titans, and Roger Long, an outside linebacker, has fallen outside of his projected top 10 spot. We didn't scout him because we thought he'd be gone by now, so maybe there's a reason he's falling, but we're going to take a shot with him. And of course, as Super Bowl champions, we have the last pick in the 1st round. And it's kind of tempting to take wide receiver Kirk Mays right here. He was projected to go in the top 10. He's fallen almost completely out of the 1st round now, but receiver is not the biggest need. There is also a tackle here projected to go in the 1st round. As you can see in the top right corner, we do not have a right tackle currently on our roster, so we're going to bring in Cody Watson. We currently only have 1 middle linebacker on our roster, so we're going to be drafting Carlos Devlin. At the end of the 3rd here, we're going to take Deron Daniels, a running back out of Clemson. Well, some of the late round gems that I wanted have already been taken. There's only really one left that I like, and that's Lawrence Davis, an outside linebacker. At the end of the 5th, we're going to take guard Rob Polk out of Michigan State. And in the 6th round, we're going to go Jerry Shields out of Colorado State. Now, before we jump into the 7th round, we're going to quickly recap what's happened throughout the draft so far, starting with the Chicago Bears, who went insanely wide receiver heavy with their first 4 picks before finally going on defense in the 6th. The Cincinnati Bengals had the 1st overall pick. They took quarterback Dexter Parker, and then that wide receiver that was projected to go in the top 10 fell all the way to them at the top of the 2nd, so a steal for them there. They then get some protection for their quarterback. They get a punter and a wide receiver in the 6th. The Bills trade up and get a tight end in the 1st round. They also get a wide receiver in the 1st round, a running back in the 3rd, a punter, a receiver, and another tackle. The Broncos go offensive line early on before double dipping on quarterback there, receiver, cornerback, and defensive end. The Browns go tackle in the 1st round. They go defensive end in the 3rd, linebacker in the 4th, and they go cornerback, quarterback, cornerback. The Bucks went left tackle with the 4th overall pick. They picked early in the 2nd, went strong safety. They also went defensive end on back-to-back picks, defensive tackle there, and wide receiver. The Cardinals had 2 first-round picks. They used them on a linebacker and a guard. They also got themselves a defensive lineman and a free safety. Chargers go free safety in the 1st round. They go outside linebacker in the 2nd, back to safety. Then they get 2 running backs, a quarterback, another running back, a corner, and a defensive end. The Chiefs traded up to number 10 to get themselves a cornerback. They took a receiver in the 2nd, a potential quarterback of the future also in the 2nd round. They got a defensive end, running back, corner, and a couple of DBs. The Colts go running back in the 1st round. They had 3 second-round picks. They go kicker, safety, and tight end. They also take a punter in the 4th. They go safety in the 5th and linebacker in the 6th. The Cowboys go offensive line with their 1st-round pick. They also got a right end, a fullback, 2 defensive tackles, and a couple of outside linebackers. Miami goes middle linebacker in the 1st, strong safety in the 2nd, and then they go offensive line in the later rounds. Eagles go tackle in the 1st, tight end in the 2nd, then they get a safety, a quarterback, and a couple of linebackers. Falcons go guard and tight end, and then it's all defense after that. Niners only had 2 picks throughout the first 6 rounds. They used them on a safety and a tackle. The Giants used their 1st-round pick on a wide receiver. They also got themselves a backup quarterback in Hawk, maybe the quarterback of the future there, with their current quarterback getting a little bit up there in age. Jags go corner in the 1st before they double dip with running back and then get an outside linebacker in the 6th. The New York Jets get themselves a center, a running back, a tight end, and a lot of defense after that. The Detroit Lions didn't pick until number 37, where they got themselves an offensive lineman. They also got themselves a free safety in the 2nd, a running back in the 4th, a linebacker in the 5th, as well as a wide receiver and a defensive end. The Packers only had 3 picks, and they did not address quarterback with any of them, instead trading up to get a left tackle at 6. They also got themselves a defensive tackle and a punter. The Panthers go wide receiver in the 1st round. They get corner in the 2nd, as well as a defensive end, a possible quarterback of the future in the third, a free safety in the fourth, and a linebacker in the sixth. The Patriots get one of the best offensive linemen in the draft. They then trade back up to get themselves a running back. They also get a linebacker, a defensive end, a few running backs, and a corner. The Raiders traded back with the Packers, and they took Rivers, a strong safety in the first round. They also got themselves a center, a kicker, and a lot of offensive linemen at the end. Baltimore goes offensive line with their first two picks before taking a receiver, a defensive tackle, a middle linebacker, another defensive tackle, and a safety. The Redskins went heavy on the defensive line, getting two defensive ends and a defensive tackle who is projected to go in the first round, fell all the way to them down in the third. That could be the steal of the draft right there. They continued to go defense with safety, then they got a few picks on offense. The Saints went guard, then corner, linebacker, quarterback, safety, defensive end, and another quarterback. The Seahawks took a tight end with the 9th overall pick. They also got themselves a right guard, a fullback, a left guard, a punter, and a safety, along with a defensive tackle and center late. Steelers go center early in the first. They also get themselves a tight end, a kicker, an outside linebacker, and a couple of tackles, along with a corner and another linebacker. Near the end of the first, Texans go right guard. They then go left guard late in the second. Then they get a linebacker, a punter, another linebacker, and a tackle. The Titans took the tackle that we were looking at right before we had the opportunity to get him. They also took a corner in the second, a kicker, and punter right there before they got a few more receivers. And finally, the Vikings, one of the worst teams in the league, could not get themselves the first overall pick though. So at the second overall pick, they take a right end. They then get their hopeful quarterback of the future early in the second, as well as a fullback. And finally, with our 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant is going to be punter Tony Swain. Looking at our draft class, it looks like Roger Long is going to be a hit. He's an 84 overall to start off as a rookie, 82 speed, 76 awareness. He looks like he's going to be great at outside linebacker for us. He's got 80 tackling, which you love to see. Our linebacker that we also got in the second round has 85 tackling. He is an 81 overall in the second round. He might be a starter on day one. Also, the tackle that we got in the first round will also be a day one starter. A little bit lower of a rating currently at 79 overall, but of course he's a rookie and he will improve. Daniels later on in the draft is a 78 overall running back with 93 speed. His awareness is a little bit down there at a 63, but of course that can improve. He also has good agility and great acceleration. The linebacker Lawrence Davis is a 73 overall with 82 speed. Bob Polk is a 73 overall. Jerry Shields at a 71. And then finally, Swain doesn't look to be a great punter. He's only a 56. Here in the second wave of free agency, we were just looking for backups, including Anthony Strickland, a quarterback taken in the first round by the Jaguars a few years ago. Didn't really live up to all the hype, so he's going to be our number 3 quarterback this season. We also got a left tackle and a defensive end for some depth as well. We also picked up undrafted free agent Burt Myers. We considered taking him with the last pick of the draft. We ultimately didn't, knowing that we would be able to get him here. Now, I did remove Matt Leinart from the Seahawks. It just didn't make any sense having him and Vince Young in that quarterback room, so he hits free agency again, now signing with the New York Jets, which makes a lot more sense considering they just lost Phillip Rivers to retirement. Anthony Kramer is the highest rated running back on the market, and he is still on the market. He is not signed with Tennessee quite yet. The Titans were able to secure themselves a fullback in free agency though, and the Redskins just really beefing up their receiving core, taking 3 of the top 4 receivers on the market, not signing Santana Moss's brother though. The Falcons signed Nick Newman, the top tight end who was available, but remember, a lot of these signings are just for depth. The Dolphins beef up their offensive line a little bit with the top left guard. The Lions get the top center still available. Seahawks get some good depth with Rodney Neal at guard as well. The Ravens get the top 2 right tackles on the market. The Giants get some depth on defense with Albert Young, and the Saints get some solid players on the defensive line as well. The top 2 defensive tackles both go to Houston. The Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals get some of the top linebackers. Bears, Patriots, and Cardinals getting some middle linebackers. And then you have the Minnesota Vikings doubling down at right outside linebacker. Into the secondary, Chuck Reynolds was a Pro Bowler a season ago. He signs with Miami. Our former corner Jared Knight hit the open market and he signs with the Cardinals. And finally, the Chargers get the top free safety still available. Well, with us taking an outside linebacker in the first round and re-signing Javon Anthony, we're going to be releasing outside linebacker Willie Delgado. The veteran is getting up in age and starting to regress down to just 73 speed, and he's just not the linebacker that he used to be. So after 2 seasons in Albuquerque, he's going to hit the open market. Here's a look at our depth chart going into the 2018 season. Orlando Cross, obviously the starting quarterback, 5-time MVP, still a 99 overall, but he's down to just 75 speed. It dropped 5 points in the offseason. He's going to have to become much more of a pocket passer. He's not going to be running around as much. Ryan Franks is the starting running back. Elvis Watts, number 2. And then Darren Daniels, number 3. Ron White at fullback. Jimmy Andrews is going to be listed as our number 1 wide receiver. I think he has a ton of potential. And honestly, at this point in this receiving room, I feel like he's the best that we've got. Charles Phillips is at number 2. He's down to 91 speed. Both him and Larry Fitzgerald are 34 years old. Fitzgerald barely making the roster. I did consider cutting him, but he still has 1 deal left on his contract, so I said, why not? He's still got some solid hands, just not much speed. We got Jonathan Colton as our number 4 receiver, and then the UDFA Burt Myers at number 5. Vaughn Lewis will start at tight end, but expect Trey Francis to get a lot of looks, and Isaac Kaufman, the UDFA from last year, is still sticking around. Our offensive line is still incredible with Joey Hand, Joseph Santiago, Chris Diamond, Derek Flanagan, and now Cody Watson at right tackle. Triple J Jones going into year 2. I'm expecting a big year from him. You also have Keaton Hill opposite of him. Of course, in the middle of the defensive line, you've got Daryl Fannin and Bernard Bailey, along with Leland Hahn, who got 3 sacks last year. Roger Long is going to start at outside linebacker. Roscoe White is currently the starter at middle linebacker, but expect Carlos Devlin to give him some serious competition there, and then Javon Anthony at right outside linebacker. Our secondary looks incredible on paper, especially at the cornerback position. You got Darren Gordon, Maurice Sanders, and Justin Williams, all 92 or above. Dan Hampton is a solid corner as well, along with Harold White. Lamar James has been regressing over the last few years. He is in the last year of his contract, so probably his last year here in Albuquerque. He's an 82. John Kelly also regressing a little bit, down to an 89. You got Brian Koch, of course, 99 overall as our kicker. Todd Williams is going to be our punter this season. I don't think Swain's going to make the roster anywhere past the preseason at the very most. Harold Williams is going to be our return man, of course. Brian Koch is going to be handling kickoffs. Chris Diamond is going to be our long snapper. And Ryan Franks is going to be our third down running back. That's going to be it for the 2018 offseason. Go ahead and leave a comment down below about what you thought of the offseason. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time, this has been Jeffrey.